Okay, so for those of you that couldn't join us, I'm just going to kind of go over the different channels that we have. First of all, thanks for joining up. I know a lot of you are in different alpha channels that I call for, different projects that I call for. And over the past several months, just grinding by doing alpha calls and then also educational posts. And that's one thing I feel like I am a little different than most alpha callers is I just stress the education piece. And I think there's a huge missing piece of this market is to learn. I mean, too many people are relying on these alpha callers, and a lot of these alpha callers, you know, they copy and paste or they're new. Um, they struggle when it's a bear market, which we're going through right now. And so I wanted to kind of go through and create alpha camps so that people have a place to come and get educated and then also get great alpha. So I'm going to just roll down. Obviously, announcements is self-explanatory. Official links you're going to have. Our Twitter, make sure you guys follow us. Anything that you can do to help, like, retweet is a big deal. I actually do website design, so I'm actually building a website. It should be done here in the next week or so. And then I put out the first Medium article there, so make sure you guys snag that. The link is where everything's going to happen, right? I mean, this is going to be general chat. This is where we're going to mainly chat, talk shop, and eventually once we have Mint, this is where general chat will be, and then we'll have a holders chat as well. Of course, you got to have a good morning channel. Education channel, this is where I'm going to start throwing out a bunch of educational pieces. I'll likely turn this into a forum where there's 3 to choose from: beginner, intermediate, or advanced education articles. So these will just be kind of like article based. And I'm going to start uploading some of my older posts that I've done on education. So you'll start to see those in here in a forum format. Visual learning, you'll see this video that we're recording right now uploaded here. This is where not everyone likes to read. It's hard to understand. So I'm going to do a bunch of visual stuff, whether that's recorded sessions, recorded daily live Mint analysis, whatever it is, it's a YouTube video, whatever, I'm going to throw it here in visual. Trading classes is where the magic is going to happen, guys. This is where we're going to do live trading classes. We're going to jump in on momentum plays and trade together. You'll actually see, like, this is when I'm entering, this is where I'm exiting, and we can kind of trade together, learn together in the trading class. So Alpha Urgent, this is going to be the momentum plays I just talked about. So, when you go to, momentum plays, what I mean by that is, your top 3 trending projects or so, or maybe it's like a brand new mint that is minting out and it's making its way up all the way to the top. And this is kind of like the meta right now where, these top 3 projects are the only ways to really flip and make some money right now. And so if I spot some things that are going really well and have great volume and they've minted out and gas is low, I'll jump into VC trading class and we'll trade together, and I'll post it in Alpha Urgent. So that's what that channel is designed for. Alpha calls, if you looked at the announcements, we have an official partnership with Acid Burn. So, it's formerly Rugburn. That if you have a Llamaverse, you can actually go into Nodi.finance and they actually track who the top alpha groups are in the space. And in this top alpha groups, they base it off of, which I really like, they actually base it off of the wins from the community. So whoever's holding a Rugburn, which is now Acid Burn, their win percentage is 81%. Cyber Snails is a close second. Then you have Llamaverse and Zooverse and, Champs is in there. A bunch of other communities are in there. But, to me, it gives so many alpha groups that self-proclaim that they're the number 1 alpha group. Well, I think this is great data to show that this is the top alpha group. And so I call for them. And so my posts and all my alpha calls will go directly through here along with everyone else on the team over there. And I'm telling you, man, they hit a lot of great plays. I tend to focus on more safe, conservative, secondary plays, but they are a little bit more on the aggressive side. But the difference is that they nail them. I mean, I could just show you some of their plays here real quick. Let me just run in there. Yeah, Nakamigos. I mean, they went 10 times on Nakamigos. I mean, they called it at 0.02, 420 did. So it'd kill it over there, and I have no doubt. I mean, it was like a no-brainer to get this partnership up and running. So all my calls will come through here, and you'll see it here. Like this is by Viv. Both the first two calls, and so these are the only calls they posted today. So you're going to get a live feed from there. It's a bot that's already coming into our server. And so whenever you see it's from me, it's going to say Alpha by Pre, and it'll have my call exactly the time that I make it. And so they have about 5 callers over there. And so, yeah, I mean, I have it automatically to give you guys notifications. And, I talked about it in the pinned post, like education is our bread, alpha is our butter, I mean, this is the two combined. It can be very dangerous in this space. And I hope that you guys make a ton of ETH off of it. Alpha chat. So these are really the only 3 things that are open right now for you guys to comment and do it. And that's going to change eventually. It's just very in the infancy stages. So the lake is like going to be like your general chat, but anything like alpha related, we'll just throw it into the alpha chat. And we'll continue to add channels and stuff, but hey, we're just this is literally day 1. Swing trades. This is where I'm going to be compiling a list of a good 30 to 50 projects, secondary projects from proven teams that have a massive consistency of trading from X to X, right? So I'm going to show you where good entry points are. I'm going to show you where good exit points are. And so I'm going to have those updated in live time. And I have Noti.finance that alerts me when a project hits the floor where it's a buy zone. And it'll also alert me when it hits the sell zone. So these will be constantly updated and massaged as the meta changes. And so keep an eye on this. I'm going to start compiling this. I already have actually, and then I'm just going to import everything in. And it's going to be like a living and breathing document. And so you guys can go in here and see what all the swing trades are. And I mean, I've off of these, 30 to 50 projects, I've made so much ETH just swing trading them. And a lot of it is just being patient and waiting for them to play out, which a lot of people don't have. But I promise you, I mean, if you kind of get into cycles where you make a few big plays and then you wait a few months and then you win on one of them, then you can take that liquidity and put it into something else. And eventually you just have like this cycle where you constantly have an ETH come in from all these plays. And so the easiest thing too is you buy it at the buy zone and then you list it immediately at the sell zone. So you can kind of like just like wipe your hands clean and just walk away. And if there's some momentum, like yesterday, I sold 2 OPEPINs because there was like a big pump. I had them listed at 0.64, which was kind of like the wall that I thought was a good place to sell. And I saw that they were trending and moving and pumping. And so I pushed them back down to like 0.58 and sold both of them. So there'll be times like that. And that's where I'm going to be like, hey, this is urgent. Like if you are putting an alpha chat, wherever it is, like, hey, I know we have this in the swing trade. This is a good time to sell. Momentum's high. People are sweeping. Let's unload and take profits. So those are basically the channels. Obviously, we have support and everything in here. And then we're also going to have a game hall. Eventually, I'm going to actually hire a mod to come in here. I only really need one person. So if you guys do know any mods, that would be a good fit. And most of you know me by now, so you kind of know what my style is. So if anybody you know that's a good mod, or if you're a mod and you'd be interested, let me know. I just kind of want like a team of 2. I want this to be a small knit family. I mentioned it before. We'll talk about mint real quick. This is some alpha for you guys. So it is going to be a very small mint. It's going to be 77 available. And then we're going to have 23, which I'm a big Michael Jordan fan, minted out for like marketing purposes. So it's just going to be 100 supply, and it's funny, we're at 75 right now. I imagine that will rise up because mint is going to be in May. And I'm not sure quite when in May, but definitely May. And the best thing about this is it's low supply. I don't care what the market is, if it's bad, if it's good, because it's going to be dirt cheap for you guys. The price will just all be determined by ETH, but I promise you, I mean, I'm not going to charge you guys a ton on this net. I talked about it today, actually. Let's pull it up here. In my educational post, it's like, just because you have a whitelist for a project doesn't mean you should mint. It should be the opposite. It's like, I can mint your project, but why should I? Give me a reason, And so I want to give you guys a reason on why to mint something cheap. And if there's value in it, then the floor price is going to skyrocket, right? So I kind of have like an opposite approach compared to what most founders are doing, where they're trying to milk a bunch of money up front, and you have no idea, you don't know anything about the project, maybe some alpha calls on it, and so you're kind of blindly aping in. With me, it's alpha camps. It's going to be basically free, and if the value is there and you guys are getting a ton of education and you're making a ton of ETH, and the word's going to spread, and then the floor price is going to go up, right? So that's my approach. It's complete opposite, where I'm not going to do like this 5,000 supply at 0.05 and just pray that it mints out and then it fails and the project goes away. It's like I'm working backwards. I want to show you guys the value of alpha camps and give you basically a free mint and have a super low supply with this tight knit community that grows together organically and is making a ton of ETH. And I'm definitely a believer. Like, if you give and give and give, no matter what you do, you're going to get tenfold in return. So I'm not as worried about finances and financials. I'm semi-retired right now, and so I have a lot of time to devote to this space. And so that's why I created Alpha Camps, to help you guys. We're in an interesting time right now because you're having people on board onto this space that have no clue about NFTs, or they have no clue about how to trade NFTs. And so just imagine, like, if we can become the experts together here, that when the next bull run happens, like, how much damage we're going to do, like how much ETH you're going to make, because you're going to have all the tools. You're going to know when to buy, you're going to know when to sell, and you're going to be aggressive to take profits. And all these newbies that are showing up have no clue what they're doing, and they're going to, you're going to sell your NFTs to them, right? You're going to be their exit liquidity. So that's my big goal here with Alpha Camps. And there's lots of fun things ahead. We're going to mint in May. Eventually, I'm going to create a community DAO. Since it's like a small group, it would be just 77 of us, and then eventually 100 of us. I'm going to create a community DAO. I actually run 4 of them right now, and a few of them with a lot of ETH in there. And so, I'm making big plays, and the community is going to benefit off of that. So you'll be able to contribute whatever X amount that is, and that's what would be your percentage in the DAO. And so we'll talk about that more. I'll likely use lore or sale, and we'll start this DAO and start trading together. And so we'll have basically like Alpha Camps, these NFTs that we've purchased together as a community, and then we'll take profits every quarter. So 4 times a year, we'll do all the payouts, and you can choose to take that payout, and we'll do funding rounds every quarter also. So, for instance, we'll do one funding round, stage 1, and you'll put into the DAO whatever ETH that you feel like, and then you'll own that certain percentage into that DAO, right? And then at the end of the quarter, if we make X amount of ETH, whatever your percentage is, you're going to get that payout in ETH back to you. We'll start funding round number 2. You can reinvest that back in for a bigger percentage, or you can just take the ETH and run. It's up to you. And so on and so on, right? We'll have quarter 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll be able to, not only make ETH with plays and learn and make ETH on your own, but we'll also have this community DAO that will eventually open up, where we make plays together as a community and make ETH together as a community. Because a lot of times, people have in real life jobs. They don't have time to sit in front of a computer all day and look at all the trending and take paper hens and Ponzi lords and flip these all day long. And so that's kind of the point of the DAO, where I don't have a ton of time to trade. I don't have a ton of time to learn, but I do have some liquidity. Here's some ETH. Um, let's make ETH together, and you get quarterly payouts, right? So that's another exciting thing that I want to start moving forward. Um, and I know there's only okay, we've got a few others that join. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw this in here. So like dividends, yeah, I mean, sort of. I mean, I still have to work out all the details and all the legal details, obviously, but yeah, it's gonna be one of those things where Lore is a place where it's like a community DAO, and so a lot of projects use Lore. So you guys can check it out. Just lore.xyz, and I'll post a bunch of information on it. And so what it happens is like you have a certain amount of signers that sign, and so it's not like I can just like take your money and run, or somebody from the community can just take your money and run. It has to require signatures from like the officers, basically. And so I make a proposal like, hey, Alpha Camps, this is something that I think we should invest in. We should invest in and buy 2 Nakamigas, right? Which I would never do. But as an example, and so I send out the proposal, and the officers, whoever they are, will sign. And as long as there's a majority that sign yes, then we purchase the NFT. And then the same thing happens at the end, where we're ready to sell. I propose to the group, hey, we should sell this and take these profits. The signatures happen, and then the ETH goes back into the community wallet. So it's like a community wallet that just continues to grow over time, and then you can distribute funds whenever that's completed. So eventually, let's just say we stack, 5 ETH in one quarter. We just take that 5 ETH and we distribute it at the end of that quarter, so that we always have ETH in the bag, or we have NFTs in the vault, but we always have those payouts as well. So there's basically 3 streams of income with Alpha Camps. Number one, which is the reason why I started it, is for education, so that you guys can make your plays on your own time in your own time zone, and you know how to make plays. You know when to buy, when to sell, and so you have all this education now in your back pocket, so that you can make ETH on your own. So that's one way to make money. Second way of making money is by going by these alpha calls, right? So my calls will be in here, as mentioned before, and Acid Burners throwing in these through the bot, all their alpha calls. So you can jump into these calls, and we'll discuss them in chat. And sometimes, sometimes the bot can come over, it can kind of get kind of funny. And so I'll go into chat and just really break it down like, hey, this is who it's from, this is what I think is happening. Since we're getting in, midway through some of these conversations, just like this, these have been mentioned many times throughout the server. And so we're kind of getting them now, and so it can get kind of confusing, but I will explain those every time they come in. And then again, just to emphasize, all of my calls will come through, it'll say alpha by pre, and those will be my calls that come through the bot. So that's income streamline number 2. Income streamline number 3 will be through the community DAO. So yeah, it's like 3-headed horse there, right? Where we can make some money together. And I want to emphasize also that I want to keep this just a small knit community. I don't want 10,000 people in here. I don't want even 700 people in here. It's too hard to manage. And I want to be very attentive to any questions that you guys have, and be super attentive and to all the loyal holders. And since this will be a 1-man, possibly 2-man team, if there's a ton of people in here, that's just not manageable. And also, I've seen projects fall apart the bigger they get, and so I just kind of want to keep it on the smaller side. And I think that's how we're going to all capitalize and make a ton of ETH. And who knows what happens with after mint and as value increases. I can definitely see these, especially in the bull run, I could see these passes being worth a lot, just because I'm here to serve you guys, right? And it's not just me either. This is another great reason why I wanted to bring in Acid Burn. It's just not me. It's me, giving educational content. But our community can also provide educational content and provide alpha calls along with the top alpha caller project in the space, which is huge. So it's like it's a great combo in my opinion. Um, I did want to mention one more thing. What was it? Shoot. Oh yeah. So another thing I want to do, and this is another reason why I want to keep it small, and this is important and it's totally optional, but I mentioned it in the Medium article where I want to actually sit down, not sit down like in real life, but virtually one on one with each of the holders. So once we mint out, I want to have a 30 to 60-minute conversation if you so desire, to talk about what your weaknesses are, maybe what your strengths are, what you're having struggling with, or why you're losing ETH. Maybe this is your portfolio. What are my recommendations? Hey, maybe we sell these, maybe we hold these, maybe we buy these, and try to figure out like an overall strategy, your NFT strategy. And so if you're killing it and you're doing really, really well, then you probably don't need me, man. Just keep doing what you're doing, and come in here and check out the alpha calls and learn a little bit if you're an advanced trader. But if you're kind of maybe on the beginner or intermediate side and you're just been struggling and losing ETH over and over again, and you can't seem to see why, and you just kind of FOMO in some things, and even when you call plays for some reason, you're always buying the top, selling the bottom. And so I think that's a common story with a lot of people, and that's what I want to change. And so we're going to have these one-on-one sessions where we just jump in like a DC, we jump in, on Twitter Space, something where we can, share screens if you so desire, and just kind of like basically just hash it out. And I think it's a great way for the holders to get to know the founder, and the founder to get to know their community. And so I'm trying to step way outside the box of what most of these alpha groups are. I mean, it's heavily education based, and it's 100% in your interests, not the team's or the founder's interests. I mean, I mentioned it earlier today when we had the short trading class. Like, a fire's lit inside of me when you guys make ETH, and it's also lit inside of me when you guys lose ETH. And so both ways, I'm super motivated, because it makes me so happy when you guys make ETH, and I genuinely mean that. Like when people say, "Pretty, like I just made 0.1 off of you, off this play. Thank you so much." Like that means like a lot to me. And so that's why another reason why I wanted to create this is so that you guys can make these banger plays, make money through the DAO, and then make money on your own. So I hope that explains like a lot. Buying the top, yeah, man. I mean, that's brutal. I'm just gonna call you CRZ. I don't know how to pronounce, but yeah, I mean this is what I used to do all the time. Is just like I'd buy the top, sell the bottom, and I come from a stock and crypto background, and so I just noticed that it was so different. Mike, okay, cool, Mike. So I like your Wonder Pal, by the way. I used to have a coffee pal just like you, with a tracksuit. But yeah, I sold it not too long ago, actually, on that last pump. But great project. I mean, great project. I got a Critera whitelist off of that. It was legit. So, but yeah, I mean, I hope you guys know. I mean, coming from a stock and crypto background, it's a lot different trading than NFTs. NFTs just move a lot quicker, and so I learned that the hard way, and I would FOMO into things and just listen to what other people would say, like, you got to get in this project. I'd be like, okay, I'll get into it. And that was like when ETH was really high, And so once I started educating myself, though, and just started applying the same, strategies that I had when I was successfully trading stocks and crypto, that's when I made all the difference. And once these tools started coming out, that's when I really started making, gains, because I used to stockcharts.com, and that was like where I lived most of the days, just day trading stocks and stuff in crypto. So once they started having charts like this, and once I can start, I mean, it gets really technical too, and we'll get into more of this. But even when you go into like TradingView, you can track RSI, and you can track MACD, all these like advanced trading features that was never around a year or two ago, because I've been in the space for about over 2 years now in NFTs, and eventually, and thank goodness I did, I traded out of all my stocks, and kind of moved all in on crypto and NFTs, and it was a great decision because the stocks took a dump. I mean, I know crypto has as well, but I was already advanced enough at that point to know when to get in and get out. And we'll talk ETH, and one of the great things too. I trade ETH and Bitcoin is kind of the two I stick with. I mean, all coins I kind of stay away from, but Viv is like a master at reading charts in the crypto world. And so you're going to start seeing some crypto plays and kind of buy zones and stop losses and kind of like targets for ETH specifically and Bitcoin. So you guys will get that as well. So this just won't be just like NFT calls that you're going to get through the Acid Bot. It's also going to be some crypto calls as well. So yeah, I mean, NFTs do move super fast, and one of the things is you got to think about, like with stocks, you have millions of investors, right? Um, let's just look up, like Ravendale, Waltz Vault. Here you're dealing with 673 investors. That's all you're dealing with. I mean, that's pretty insane. And so it can move really quick. I mean, especially when this says like, half of the supply, then there might be some whale out there that owns most of them. They can just dump the floor at any time, right? By the way, this is a good play. I bought one of these this morning, Ravendale, Waltz Vault. Not sure if you guys are aware of it, but it's going to likely give you whitelists for their future main collection. But anything in the, this is another thing I want to do is always provide just like a little bit of alpha at some point. But yeah, it's heading down. If you start to see it run sideways a little bit, I'll kind of tap out and start running a little bit. That'd be a good buy zone. I wouldn't buy yet, but just wait until it runs sideways and starts to accumulate a little bit. But yeah, you guys can check out Waltz Vault. It's just Waltz Vault _NFT. But yeah, legit project. You can go to the website, you can go to their Discord. I'm in there, but that's a good play. I would, if this gets down to 0.2, especially, and there's already a few like offers being accepted, so it wouldn't be bad to throw some offers in there. Sorry, I'm going to get back on track, but I do want to provide alpha every single time we're on here. Yeah, so this is kind of like the bid wall at 0.17. So if you're going to throw a bid in, I'd probably put it like 0.19. They'll probably burn through pretty soon. So like a 0.19 bid, can't go wrong with that because it's not going to go much lower. Even there's only 12 people bidding on 1630. But yeah, you're starting to see this go up too. So when you start to see this go up too, that can be an indication that the floor is going to start rising as well because people just start accepting offers at a higher rate. So just keep an eye on that. Yeah, hey man, Micro, I appreciate it. And this is just the beginning. And this is another thing that's super important that I want to emphasize is, when you go into Discord servers, for some reason, people have these expectations of, man, if the general chat's not just like hopping, if there's not like a ton of engagement from the mods or the founder, it's like a dead project or something, right? That's definitely not going to be the case. It's very intentional and trying to keep this membership low. I don't know what this is going to be once Mint starts, because once Mint happens, there's only going to be a few channels open. But again, just to emphasize, we're going to have 77 mints. That's it. And then 23 available for the team for marketing purposes. And so it's going to be a small group. And so if you come in here and you're like, man, that no one's, even posted something since 2 o'clock, this place is dead. That's definitely not the case. And it's going to be one of those things too, where it's just important that you guys just tag me. Like, don't ever think that you're bothering me by tagging me. This is going to be like my new baby, man. So like, tag me as much as you want. There's no dumb questions. So always, especially if it's alpha related, throw it in alpha calls. If it's any other question, feel free to throw it in the lake, and I will always answer. And another thing too, a lot of you guys know this, especially through like Hexgo. which I've been there since last summer, I think. It was like August mint or something like that. I was like one of the I was an original minter there. Became an alpha caller there, and they tagged me all day long over there. It's like, Pri, what do you think about this project? What do you think about this chart? I'll just chart it. And the difference here, though, is like, if Mike were to say, hey, Pri, what do you think about this project? And let's just go roll into trading class. Let's just pull up the screen and chart it live together and like talk about it, right? I can talk about, I can chat all about it here and I can screenshot it there. But if somebody's available to actually go through a one-on-one, I'm going to go through a one-on-one with you. And so don't be afraid to tag me. Yeah. So how they're making ETH. Yeah. I mean, so it's kind of a mix. And so I talked about it earlier today, but the question, just for those of you joining, have you making ETH the past 3-4 months, most successful trades, because the market has been pretty rough. Now in January, February, we actually had like this little tiny mini, bull run, and then especially with the Blur airdrop, it was, volume was hot, and so lots of it's secondary plays, and you'll start to notice a lot of my plays are kind of like patience plays, where you get in, and we talked about swing trades earlier. So if you got in late, you can check that out. But the swing trades are kind of like my bread and butter there, where I go in and find out where good support is on a project. I used the example of Renga earlier, which I like. It's a good buy zone, anything under 1 ETH. And then I just list it for 1.2 because I know that it always hits there. And then I just wipe my hands and move on. And so once you have, because that seems like, okay, I just tied up a bunch of liquidity in something. I can't wait 2 or 3 months for that. But the thing is, once you start having like a good 15 to 20 of these cycling in, and I'm not talking about all 1 ETH, it could be 0.1 or 0.2, whatever it is, whatever the swing trade is. And once you start having this cycle where they cycle in and out, because they don't all happen at the same time, then out of nowhere you make some ETH, you make 0.1, 0.2 ETH. And that's kind of my goal on a lot of my calls is like, I don't want to make $5 on a call. Like I want to make, at least $100, maybe $200 on a call. And so I'm a little bit more patient with those calls. And so I make ETH that way. That's where most of it comes from. And then, secondly, I'll like whitelist, mint, flip, or I'll actually go after momentum plays. And so there's really 3 there. I enter a ton of, and I'm going to list this too. This is another thing I'm going to list. I'm actually going to create a channel for it. But projects that provide good AlphaBot raffles and pre-mint raffles that are cheap entries, because there's quite a few. I mean, if you look at my Discord, I mean, it's just, I got way too many channels in here and just so many projects. And so I'm going to list a lot of them that I've noticed that like give out really good raffles. And so I enter a ton of those, all the green or all the white list, right? And so I'll just see if it meets the criteria that I mentioned in education today. If it meets these 3 criteria, I'll mint and I'll flip right away. And so yeah, there's the secondary sales where I make ETH. There's the whitelist, mint, flip that I make ETH, and then I also make ETH on momentum plays. And then momentum plays will all be put into Alpha Urgent. And when there's a momentum play, what I mean by that is something that's trending, that's creating these patterns. Let's just pull up these Ponzi lords. I've been seeing these today, where they slowly make their way up to the top 3 trending, and they start to create these patterns of buy and sell opportunities, okay? And this is a perfect example of, I talk about this check mark pattern that always happens with new mints. You'll start to see it kind of high, and then it kind of dips down low, and I imagine this is probably where, I don't know, it was either a free mint or pretty close to this likely. And you'll start to see volume pick up, and it goes sideways, and it just starts for that first pump, right? And so if the volume's great, you're able to buy and sell at all these signals, right? And so I'll jump in and say, hey, let's look at Ponzi Lords. It's likely a good entry around here. I noticed that they're minted out. They have a 10,000 supply, and we'll trade together, like in VC trading. while I share my screen. I did this with the negatives the other day where I'm like, all right, I'm buying here. And as it rode up, I told everybody this is the sell signal, sell if you like. And I'll continue to do that forever along. This is also another example. I don't want to get too much into trading because this is recorded for newbies here. But as you get away from mint, the riskier it gets. Okay, you have to have these catalysts. What I mean by catalyst is like it has to be something to promote big pumps, whether it's alpha calls, whether that's an announcement, maybe it's a partnership, whatever it is. Maybe it's engagement on Twitter, maybe it's the community coming together, whatever it is. That's creating these pumps. And so once the volume goes away, and once you get away from mint, the riskier it becomes. So we'll be talking a lot about that. And pretty much every day there's a momentum play. And so those are the kind of the three sources of my income there. And I also run 4 DAOs, 4 or 5 DAOs. And so we talked about DAOs earlier. And so a lot of those same swing trade plays are made in these DAOs. And so I get a percentage of that, so I guess there's 4 streamlines of income there. Let's get back in here. Awesome. Nift, I'm glad you're here, man. I really hope I mean, Solana, I remember Solana summer last year, right? I know there's still a ton of opportunity in there. And so there might be a spot where if you can give any Solana plays or if you hear anything, just feel free to throw in the alpha chat. So yeah, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to throw it in here. We're probably going to wrap this up. We're in about 40 minutes and I'm recording this. So if you did miss some of it, I'm going to throw it into likely visual learning there. And so you guys can talk. I mean, basically we went over what the vision is of Alpha Camps and kind of where it's headed. But yeah, I mean, my goal is to hit 77 member SIGs. That's what the mint's going to be supply. So we're just about there. So if you guys can, you understand kind of the vision here. And if you have any other people out there that that would think would be a good fit, I just don't want bodies in here. I want to keep it on the smaller side. I'm the complete opposite of what most founders want, which is thousands and thousands of people and thousands of engagement. I want a tight knit community that's small where we can grow together and make a ton of ETH, because when it gets too big, it's unable, you can't manage it. But if you do know anybody though, don't be selfish with that. Bring them in here, right? They'll thank you for it. And I know I can already tell. I mean, there's a lot of great minds in here as well. So it's not just about pre either, right? There's a lot of really good minds in here that can contribute to a lot of great alpha and a lot of great education. And I hope that you'll contribute to whatever way you can. So thanks for jumping on, guys. I'm super excited, super motivated. I've started a lot of businesses in the past and I've sold them. I don't plan on selling this one. I plan on riding this through all the amazing bull runs that we'll have in the future. I definitely think Web3 is the future, and that's a big reason why I devote so much time into it. And so I hate to say it, but we are super early, and I'm glad you guys are part of Alpha Camps. Let me know if you guys have any questions after this. Again, don't feel bad about ever tagging me. I love getting tagged, actually, and let's grow together, guys. With that, peace out, guys.